What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time I'm going to take a look at Psycho 4, the beginning, the movie that erases the nonsense of Psychos 2 and 3, and is a direct continuation from Psycho 1. This, of course, is the 30-year anniversary film, as this movie was released in the year 1990, 30 years after the original release in 1960. This, of course, was made for television, primarily, more specifically for Showtime. It is directed by Mick Garris, who is known for doing Stephen King adaptations such as The Shining and The Stand, made for TV. This movie once again stars Anthony Perkins in his final portrayal as Norman Bates before his untimely death. Olivia Hussey plays Norma Bates' mother. Henry Thomas plays young Norman Bates in flashbacks. The movie is written by original Psycho scribe Joe Stefano. So yes, let's dig into this thing. I have a lot to say about it. I'm going to try and be as condensed as possible, and not have this video go overly long because I love Psycho 4. After watching it again, this is a damn good movie. This movie edges out Psycho 2 as my favorite sequel because there's very few things I don't like about Psycho 4. There are a couple of things I would have done a little bit differently, but overall, this is a damn good, solid movie, and it's a perfect conclusion to the whole Psycho franchise. This movie acts as a prequel and a sequel. We get to see Norman Bates' early life and how the relationship with his mother played out, all leading up to the events of her death. We see Norman Bates in 1990, present day. He's now released from the institution, yet again, and he is now married to the nurse that treated him. So Norman is finally living that normal life. He's got a wife, he's got a life, he has a newborn baby on the way, and he wants to kill his wife because he believes his wife is going to birth another monster like him. That automatically just makes this movie really, really interesting. The whole backdrop of this thing, by the way, is there's this radio show that is this radio show in the film called Talk of the Town, Fran Ambrose, and she has a topic of matricide, when boys kill their mothers, which, of course, is being done as a 30-year anniversary of the original Norman Bates killings from the first film. We have Dr. Leo Richmond, who was in the first movie, appears in this movie, having a conversation with Fran Ambrose, and Norman Bates calls in as under the guise of Ed to tell his story of matricide and the events that led up to his story of to eventual killing of his mother. So, and that's where this movie to me is more interesting, because a lot of the scenes are, because again, it acts as a prequel. So seeing young Norman Bates was interesting, and it was really, really good stuff, very compelling stuff. And I want to go on record and say that Henry Thomas did a fantastic job playing young Anthony Perkins. You can clearly tell he did his homework, down to the mannerisms, down to the speech patterns. It's a very underrated performance, and in a very underrated and pretty much forgotten movie, Psycho 4. Now, I don't think a lot of people realize that Psycho 4 is actually a movie that has actually happened. And it's a damn shame because Henry Thomas puts in a perfect performance as Norman Bates. I almost wish that this movie was just an entirely a prequel, with the modern scenes being bookends, and the whole movie itself just being a prequel, instead of cutting back and forth, as of what it did. Anyway, that's like my main gripe, is that I would have taken away the whole angle of Norman trying to kill his wife, and him calling into the show, telling his story. And, of course, the movie's ending would have been a little bit different, too. But I'm not going to get into this, because I don't want to talk about it. It'll take forever. Let's talk about the movie. I'm going off topic again. Let's focus. So anyway, we see these flashback scenes. We see Norman commit his first murder against a woman on the 4th of July who was trying to get laid. We also see him kill another woman because, again, trying to get laid. And mother takes over and says, "No, they're hoes, they're sluts. You can't do that." You actually see the dominant personality of mother kill these women. And we also see mother herself. This is the movie that first gives us a live-action mother, played by Olivia Hussey, who did a fantastic job playing Norma Bates. A very layered performance as well, because we see tender scenes of Norma acting like a normal mother, a loving mother with young Norman, and you can see that they had a genuine bond. And then as the years go on and Norman gets older, we see that deteriorate into a schizophrenic Looney Tune, pretty much. This woman who has smothered her son is making him sexually frustrated, confusing him. She's getting him aroused, and she then berates him for it. It's like, you're doing these things to get your son aroused. You're sexually tormenting him. It's no wonder why he ends up killing you. You smother him and you shelter him from life. You're the only woman in his life. Of course he's going to have these feelings and feel this way. And he doesn't understand why. And Henry Thomas does a great job at conveying these emotions, and Olivia Hussey does a good job at just being this wretched woman who is sexually tormenting her son this way. And it gets even worse when she pretty much has Norman believe he's the man of the house, and then all of a sudden she's bringing a strange man into the house, and Norman, who's already mentally disturbed, is getting even more disturbed because now he's being pushed away for this other man. And this is the chain of events that leads to Norman killing his mother, killing the lover, feeling extraordinary guilt over everything, to the point where he takes her out of the coffin, does the taxidermy, stitches her up, weighs the coffin down with books to avoid any suspicion. And we see all this play out in the prequel flashbacks, and it's done fairly well. It's good stuff. I like it a lot. Really well-written stuff. Of course, we get the present day stuff with Norman telling his story to Fran, and the viewer is led to believe that Norman is telling Fran these things because subconsciously he wants Fran to prevent him from killing the love of his life, which is his wife, who is pregnant with child. But Norman is so obsessed with not having another monster like him appear in this world that he will take that drastic measure, and he's doing it on his own accord. Mother's dead. Mother's not controlling him. This is the first time where Norman is making a conscious decision in his mind to do something for the greater good. And it's fantastic stuff. I really like it a lot. And I especially like the ending a lot, where Norman and his wife go to the Psycho house. There's a nice little chase scene that plays out. Then Norman finally realizes that, his wife is a good person. She has good within her. And there is a chance that this child will not be like him, but more like her, a good person. And that lets Norman to finally let go of that past. Drops the knife, and as a final farewell, burns the house down. But as he's burning the house down, the ghosts from his past start to torment him. And he's trying to fight that while fighting his way out of the house. And it's really good stuff. Really, really well done stuff. I like it a lot. There's a lot more about this movie that I can cover, but I'm just not going to get into it because I think people should really give Psycho 4 a chance. It's a damn good movie. Really damn good movie. Really well directed, well made, beautiful cinematography, solid writing, good acting all across the board. That's the one thing all the Psycho movies had. Some are better than most, but the acting has always been on point, and Anthony Perkins always gives it his all. Whether he's being given a great script or a subpar script, he will always treat it with respect, and he'll always play Norman Bates the way Norman Bates should be portrayed. You can clearly tell that Perkins took care of the character of Norman Bates to the best of his abilities, and Psycho 4 is no different than that with that assessment. So despite a couple of minor things I want to change, this movie's damn near perfection, which is why I got zero problem giving it a 9 out of 10. If you have not seen Psycho 4, it is well worth your time. It is a good prequel sequel, a good, bookend to the entire Psycho franchise. It wraps up everything in a nice little bow. We get to see young Norman and the relationship with his mother develop. We get to see where Norman is now in his present life. And we get to see how it all gets wrapped up by the end of the film. Satisfying, in my opinion. So yeah, if you've seen Psycho 4, comment below, like the video, subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.